Since you had the courage to ask,
I will answer.
there is a reason why every batch of my students will attempt this paper. In other words, all will be reviewed.
Today.
Find out why in today's episode of PPR. Alright, welcome back to another video. This is Yao from VANTAGE Tutor, a class above the rest. And for today's prelim paper review, it is a special request. It is a fan request. And it is from 2019 St Andrews Junior College, H2 Math, Paper 1. Now before I begin, these are the questions that I feel are insightful and probably worth your time to try. And if you would like to try this paper, you're invited to join my Telegram channel where I've uploaded a short summary along with a download link on my blog. Have a go at it. Let me know how you did. And yes, I have started a tuition center. It is located near Boon King and SAJC. Regular classes are up and running. The open class sign up link is available as well. So if you're still wondering if you need help, think no more. Link is in the bio. I'll see you there. Now firstly, this paper had a lasting impression on me for many reasons. And one of the reasons is nostalgia, and it brings back some bittersweet memories. My first JC2 student who graduated from under my wing was from SAJC. And in case you're wondering, yes, he did score an A for both his H2 Math and Chemistry under my tutelage. And one of the things that he said about this paper was, his teacher said that this paper was set close to A-level standard. Do I agree? Let's find out via my 3 matrices. Number 1, relevance. Number 2, insightfulness. Number 3, difficulty. Before I give an overall score and recommend to you the type of students who should try this paper. And of course, if I had a student who had to sit for this paper under exam condition, what would be a fair expectation of him from me in order for him to score an A in his actual A levels? Firstly, relevance. Let's talk about you guys in general first, which is that the JC2 taking the A levels this year, the syllabus is different. Mainly your complex numbers, mainly your parametric equation. But that constitutes a small part of this paper, and you can easily identify them, and I'm sure you know which one to remove. And for most of the older syllabus H2 Math papers, a lot of times when you talk about parametric equation, they tend to involve integration, but not in this paper. I shall not say too much about the parametric equation. In fact, it's one of the most interesting questions I've seen out there, and I shall reserve it for you to try. But beyond that, if you look at the other questions, one of the things that I maybe cannot agree with is that they repeated parametric equation twice. And apart from that, I do agree with the teacher that this paper is set close to the A-level standard. But I think there's a small caveat over here. A lot of the questions here, yes, I can imagine them coming out for your A-levels. But do I imagine them coming out one after another together in the same paper? Unlikely. What does this mean? A lot of these questions over here are questions that you will see in an A-level paper as a surprise question, as a question that requires a bit more. If you look at your 10-year series and you compare to this, there will be similarities between them, and the similarity is that a lot of these questions will come out as that one question that stands out that requires students to think. But even though these questions require students to think, it's not too far-fetched. And I guess the biggest compliment I can give to this paper is there are so many questions in there that I can imagine to be the standout question in a typical A-level question, and they can be found towards the back of the paper, and hence the relevance of this paper will be given a rather solid 7.5 out of that. Next, insightfulness. This I have a lot to say. Let's talk about the small flaw first, which is that some of the questions here seems a bit too far-fetched, and I wish they did not put that in this paper. Ironically, the vectors question, and some may argue the first parametric equation question. But those are the small flaws. The rest of this paper is really shed kiss. This paper have a lasting impression on me because every year I make it a point to take out questions from this paper for my students to try. And this comes in the form of integration, parametric equation, and the APGP question. The rest of it, yes, they require a bit more, but it's something that I trust most students are able to deal with, even though there's a level of spice to it. And the biggest thing about the last 3 questions is they look long, they have a big diagram, they look unfamiliar, but at the same time, they are not unfair. They are very solvable. And that's the beauty of this paper. If you look at your A-level paper as well, usually the bigger the diagram is, the longer the paragraph is, the more information they give you. It's just a scare tactic. In fact, most of them are rather simple to solve if you can tear apart the layers, and that is clearly demonstrated in this paper. All I can say is, good questions, amazing insights if you have the right mentor to take apart the question for you and show you why these questions are so amazing and what's the real intention behind the question. And that's what I aim to do, and I always do for my open classes. You should not just focus on solving the question, you should focus on what is so special about this question. Did I get tricked by the information? Was I able to push through the lay of scare tactic and eventually get to the answer. And hence the insightfulness of this paper. Balancing the small flaws, it will still be given a very spectacular 9 out of 10. Next, difficulty. There are many layers for me to talk about. Number one, first impression. For a typical student, when you're just checking through the pages, this will scare you, especially towards the back. Big diagrams, a lot of information, looks like it will be a challenge to go through. And it will somewhat be in terms of your mental capacity. You must be able to push through the layers and then eventually realize nothing too special. In fact, they simplified the question for you by giving you the diagram. Apart from that, the first few questions, yes, they are a bit more, but at this point as a JC2, when you are at your prelim standard, you should be able to push through them, even though it may require a bit more time. Now, would this cause you to have time management issue? 100% not at all. Unless you're completely terrified just by flipping through the paper, unless you're not prepared for the paper. In fact, the last parametric equation is a tier up from the 2014 Dunman High question. I believe Dunman High at some point has said a question like this before, but it's a raw question. This, they added layers to it. This, they added a story to it. And in short, this paper is not difficult as long as you are willing to peel through the layers. But again, I understand there is a small fear factor upon first impression, and hence the difficulty of this paper will be given a slightly above average 6.5 out of 10. Overall, one of my favorite papers. There is a reason why I always take out this paper for every batch of my students to try, and every time I'll highlight the questions I highlighted to you and ask of them to try, because there is really so much for me to say, there is really so much for me to talk about, there is really so much for me to impart to them beyond the answers. It's also the thinking skills that's required of you. It's also the things you need to look out for when you read through the question, and how to take apart the layer fast, how to understand the question fast. And I think this is a key skill for any A-level candidate. Most questions nowadays are not so straightforward, and even if they are, they wouldn't contribute significantly to you getting an A. And I think the biggest compliment I can give to this paper is like a congregation of the all-star questions from your A-level 10-year series. They pick the most insightful and yet fair questions and put them together in one paper. And yes, I agree, maybe it's unfair to do that to you, because generally in most exam papers there will be some questions that are rather easy to do so that you can get to the next, and then maybe you spend more time there. But I guess it's what putting the best of both worlds together will look like. You want your students to be challenged, but at the same time you want a fair reflection of what an A-level paper could be, making this a slightly above average of an A-level paper. And hence, for the past 6 years, I have been using this paper over and over again. It is definitely no surprise that the overall score would be given a perfect 10 out of 10. And if I had a student who had to sit for this paper under exam condition, a fair expectation of him would be 65% in order for him to score an A in his actual A levels. Finally, who do I recommend this paper to? I recommend this paper to every student out there to attempt as a time practice. Not now, not tomorrow, but only when you feel prepared to take on the actual A levels. This paper is a rare find. Most prelim papers tend to stretch a bit too much, and it's really very difficult to find a paper that is stretching you a bit without going too far and giving you the appropriate challenges. And very few of them are just right, and this is one of them. In fact, this could be the last paper that you do under time condition just before your A levels. And for the more eager, do it just before your prelims, so that when the prelims is done, you can catch up the latest syllabus of your 2025. And hence, if you are a student who is ready to take on the A-level H2 math paper, who feels that you are confident of your topical knowledge and you want to see them put to the test in a fair manner, in a reasonable manner, this paper would be for you. Alright, so we have come to the end of this prelim paper review of 2019 St Andrews Junior College H2 Math Paper 1. Now, if you like what I'm doing, follow me on TikTok, like my video, comment, and share it with your friends. I'm sure this will help them, because ultimately, I'm on my way to 10,000 followers. And if you would like to try this paper, you're invited to join my Telegram channel where I've uploaded a short summary along with a download link to my blog. Have a go at it, let me know how you did. And yes, I have started a tuition center. It is located near Boon King and SAJC. Regular classes are up and running. The open class schedule and registration link is up as well. If you feel that you need help, this is the right time to look for help. Link is in the bio. Sign up today and I'll see you there. Nothing else. This is Yao from VANTAGE Tutor, a class above the rest. Take care.